Hey guys, welcome to Behind the Sunset. And today we're actually going to talk about some of the good things that the cameras that I own can do instead of actually just talking about the bad all the time. Because we talk about the bad too much about these cameras, don't we, Mark?
Yeah, but you know what they say? Start thinking positively.
Yep. So while the GoPro may be horrible at low light, with grainy images and mediocre stabilization when it's in low light, it's really good at stabilization in bright light. Let me show you. So GoPro stabilization in good light is very, very good. Mark, it's time to try to break that GoPro stabilization. Ready?
What do I mean to do?
Whoa! Another good thing I didn't mention about the GoPro, you actually have a nice small screen to see yourself without flipping out a screen to make it huge. Also, this camera is tiny. I mean, this is the size of my hand, and then it's like 1/3 the size of that. So it's way, really small. So a good thing about the Panasonic is also the stabilization, and even better, the autofocus is actually really good. Until I get too close, then it's not. There we go. Stabilization may not be as good as the GoPro, but it's pretty good, and the colors from the Panasonic coming off are way better than the GoPro, as well as the sharpness. It's not as good for vlogging because I have to flip a screen around and do this, hold it awkwardly, right?
And you can't see his hands.
Yeah, I can see myself, but I have to use a huge part of my hand just to hold this thing, right?
And also you can see it's also at an angle which doesn't look as nice or good. It's very slanted.
Absolutely. And so, but another good thing is that with this stabilization, I can practically zoom all the way in while walking, and it'll be relatively stable. Not the most stable in the world, like zoomed out, but pretty stable. Another thing that the Panasonic can do well is slow motion. Show them. Yet another thing that it can do pretty well is extremely blurry backgrounds. As you see here, the background's completely blurred out, while only Mark's face and head are in focus. That way it looks very cinematic compared to all my other cameras, as you see right here. Now, let's see how it performs in good light. Going into very, very bad light. So right now we're ISO 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 800, 22,000, 3,200, 4,000, 5,000, 10,000. Still keeping track of Mark in focus. Right now we're comfortably at 8,000 in here. Does it look noisy? Not so much. Is it keeping track of him? Yes, it is. Even in this very dark environment. And this is at f4, which is not letting in much light. As you see here, with this horrible lighting,
I'm standing on the border between DC and Maryland right now.
yep, with big, deep elevators and an abandoned mall that's being destroyed. Yay! Alright, now for the Fuji. The Fuji happens to have some of the best colors on the market. This is the standard Eterna profile for video, which looks cinematic looking. At least to some people. To me, it looks okay. It's not the best, not the worst. But the crazy thing about Fuji, you can do custom profiles right on the camera. While the autofocus might not be the best, like when zooming, it goes crazy. The stabilization, at least when standing still, is pretty good. For instance, This is a profile called Vibrant Arizona, and it looks really, really good. It makes the skies blue and nice, and makes the colors warm and lifelike. It doesn't work so well indoors, but on the outside, it looks really cinematic. About 1,000. So another good thing about the Fuji camera, while we're in Kodak Vision 3, which looks very cinematic, but it does tend to blow out the background a bit, which is okay, is the price. The price is about $1,000 used, and this is the Fuji X-T4. The new Fuji X-T5 is more expensive at $1,700.
Jeez.
But is even better than this, with higher megapixel sensor and 6K video.
So if you're on a budget, at least there's an option.
Yep. Fujis tend to be pretty good for a budget because they have high burst rates and good video features. It's just that they need to work on their autofocus, and their colors are some of the best in the industry. For instance, this is the classic negative profile. It's turning Mach's skin sort of orangish, which is fun. He makes the best rules, I swear. It's turning the bluishes into sort of purplish color, which looks interesting. And the greenishes are being desaturated for an old-timey look. And basically, this camera also has, unlike the newer version, a flip screen. So you can actually see yourself on recording. Although, if I were trying to do cinematic vlogging, I'd rather use a phone. Because phones are not bad these days.
And they're also much lighter than the Fuji.
Yeah, although the Fuji is pretty light. Another good thing about the Fuji is the price of lenses. Lens prices can be pretty cheap, with some prime lenses being only $200. And many third-party lenses starting to come in, making them almost as good with third parties as Sony. And the third-party lenses autofocus just as good as the Fuji lenses themselves, which completely depends on how good the camera is at autofocus, and I would say the Fuji is somewhere in between the old Panasonics and the Sonys, because it has that problem where you zoom in and it goes out of focus like the Sonys, and it has that fun snapping that Panasonic does, or did, with their older cameras. Although it's actually doing pretty well here. Background, foreground, background, foreground. There we go. Last but not least is on a frickin' phone. Now, there's one advantage the phone has above everything, and that is the screen. The screen is ginormous, and you get to see yourself completely, or what you're filming, very, very easily. And being able to do that is helpful because you can check that focus is good, you can check that the colors are right, and you have a nice bright screen for sunlight, which many other cameras just don't have.
For instance, right now we're walking through the shade in Friendship Heights, but according to the screen on the phone, it still looks pretty bright.
Yeah, and right now it's like, if we look back here, it's relatively shady back here, as you can tell by the sky blowing out right up there. But back there is nice and sunny while I'm in the shade, and it's still keeping me well exposed while the sun is back there. And not many cameras can do that. So the phone also has very good auto exposure. The slight downside being there is no manual exposure. So if the phone does something you don't like, good luck. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and please leave comments below. We appreciate them, positive and negative. And if you don't like the video, leave a dislike. I know YouTube disabled them, but I turned them back on with an ad blocker thing.
And share this with your friends if they're very interested in cameras and different types of like positives, negatives, angles, prices, lenses, whatever.
Yeah, and also I'm gonna say a thing most YouTubers don't. If your camera's good enough, don't buy a new one. Please save your money and don't spend thousands on YouTube that will almost surely not make you thousands. Have a good one.